Hi, it's Roland Jones. This is another video in a series of videos on preference and fraudulent conveyance clawback issues. In this video, I'm going to focus on what happens when there's a preference case and the agricultural industry is involved, specifically when the defendant um, is involved in agriculture. Is there a special defense? And of course, the answer is yes, and it involves PACA, and we're going to be looking at a case that deals with that. And this is very, very common whenever agriculture is involved. We always check for PACA. So this case is sort of an example of what often happens. The case I'm going to look at is a 2009 case from Arkansas, Cox versus Decca's Cranberry Products. In this case, the debtor operated a bakery and bought cranberries from a vendor. And then during the 90-day, then obviously the company went bankrupt. And prior to bankruptcy, during the 90-day preference period, it paid for the cranberries. And the vendor of the cranberries received $32,472. So after the bankruptcy, the trustee sues the vendor of the cranberries for a preference. Not surprisingly, the creditor asserted that payments were protected by a statutory trust created by the Perishable Agricultural Commodities Act, better known as PACA. The creditor also asserted that he received payments in the ordinary course. The trustee argued that PACA is unavailable, did not create a statutory trust for the cranberries or the payment of the cranberries because the cranberries were not perishable. And also the payments were not in the ordinary course. But we're focusing on the PACA defense. So the main issue here, were the payments in the ordinary course, but also were the cranberries perishable, and did they fall under PACA? The applicable code section is 547, transfer of an interest of the debtor in property. The reason why I'm highlighting that section of the bankruptcy code is because the argument is that, hey, if it's covered by PACA, then it's held in statutory trust. In other words, title did not actually pass to the debtor until payment was made in full. So it wasn't a transfer of an interest of the debtor in property. Neither the cranberries nor payment was the debtor's property. That's why I highlighted that. Also, 547C were the payments in ordinary course. This is a picture of this part of the opinion discussing PACA, and in this section, the court notes that there are elements that the defendant must satisfy if PACA is going to apply. Number one, the goods in question have to be perishable agricultural commodities. Two, the commodities were received by a commissioned merchant, dealer, or broker. And three, they provided written notice, rather the defendant in this case provided written notice of their intent to enforce PACA. These elements are actually, in my experience, pretty hard to satisfy. Whether the commodity was perishable is a fact issue, and whether written notice was provided by the vendor of the food products or not. And often written notice was not provided, and it's kind of heartbreaking to lose this defense based on that element. So the court here took a very close look at these cranberries and decided that they were dried cranberries, and they had a shelf life of 18 months, and they were not fresh fruit. They're not. The court made a decision that they weren't perishable, and also the court decided that for other reasons the payments were not made in the ordinary course, and that the creditor, for the above reasons, the creditor failed to establish that PACA applied, and so no trust was created by statute that protected either the cranberries or payment of the cranberries from being property of the bankruptcy estate. So, the takeaway here is, it's not always easy to find protection under PACA, and the court's going to take a very close look at these elements and make a decision whether PACA applies.